Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be my Championship Week 8 score predictions, and this weekend in the Championship, once again, we have a pretty enticing weekend in terms of some Championship fixtures, and after this weekend in the Championship, we do unfortunately have another international break, so that's not the best of news, so we'll have to make do with this weekend the Championship action for now. So if you guys haven't seen this series before, let me quickly explain how it all goes down. So every weekend, I give you guys my Championship score predictions for what I think the results will be with each game going on in the Championship. FIFA 18 also makes their score predictions, but what I'm really interested to know is what you guys have to say. So in the description down below, I'll leave all the fixtures that are taking place this weekend, and I want you guys to go ahead and make your score predictions. And then if you do manage to get any of your score predictions correct, I will include your comment at the start of the next video. And speaking of that, actually, I will include some of your guys' comments now on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of the midweek fixtures correct, I will include your comment on screen now. And fair play to you guys if you did get a midweek score prediction correct, because we had some pretty big scorelines in midweek. You know, we saw Aston Villa take down Burton Albion quite easily, 4-0. Cardiff had a great win against Leeds. Ipswich absolutely battered Sunderland by 5-2. That was a mental game to go ahead and think over. Simon Grayson definitely being put under pressure there. And we also saw Birmingham put an end to that winless run they were on with a 1-0 victory over Sheffield Wednesday. So quite an interesting week in midweek, actually. So what do you guys make of your club in midweek? Let me know down below. So for our first fixture to go ahead and talk over, we do have QPR, who are coming up against Fulham. So a bit of a London derby going on in this one. First of all, this is taking place tonight on Friday night, guys, so you will of course need to get some of your predictions in pretty swiftly for this one. And we also have FIFA 18 now as well, predicting the scorelines, so hopefully FIFA 18 will be a bit more accurate this year. But in terms of this game, it's actually quite an interesting one to go ahead and predict for this one. QPR aren't in the best run of form recently. In their last 4 games, they've drawn 3 and lost 1, so they'll be looking to get back to winning ways in this one. Fulham recently have been a very inconsistent side. I think that's fair to say, of course. In midweek, they got that very impressive 3-1 victory over Nottingham Forest. In terms of a prediction, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think QPR at home this season have been largely impressive, and Fulham have been a bit hit and miss. So I'll say 1-1. FIFA same. 2-1 QPR. And in our next fixture we do go into, we then have Aston Villa, who are coming up against Bolton Wanderers. So of course we're into the Saturday kickoffs now, and I mean, come on, surely only one thing can happen in this game. Aston Villa currently under a tremendous run of form, of course. The way they started this season, a lot of fingers were being pointed at them as to say, you know, they were going to bottle it again this year. But if their recent form is anything to go by, they're looking quite decent at the moment. They've won their last 3 games, and coming up against this Bolton side, who are yet to pick up a victory this season, is going to be a tough game for them, especially as Villa have got some of their attacking players back fit now. You know, I'm thinking players like Jonathan Kodjia, Adoma recently has been in sparkling form, Josh Onuma as well. I think there'll be too much to handle, so I'll go with a 3-0 home victory for Villa, whereas FIFA same. It'll be 2-0 Villa. Then our next matchup is quite an intriguing one to go ahead into. Next of all, we then have Burton Albion, who are coming up against Wolves. So of course, Burton not getting the greatest of results in midweek with that 4-0 defeat they suffered at the hands of Aston Villa. But similarly to that, Wolves recently haven't been playing the best of football than we've seen so far this season. Of course, they lost in midweek to Sheffield United, and I mean, everything seemed to go wrong for them in that game. They had a player sent off, they missed a penalty, and they couldn't get anything going forward. So this is quite an interesting one, actually. On paper, you'd obviously, I think, be backing Wolves to get back to winning ways in this one, but that's not how I see this game going. I think that whenever Burton Albion have been on the receiving end of a thrashing so far this season, in the next game they've always seemed to respond with quite a defensive performance that they've grinded out a result, and I could see a similar pattern occurring in this one here today. Wolves have struggled so far this season against teams that play quite deep, and I can see Burton doing it for this one. So for this game, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think these two sides could cancel each other out, and it could be a frustrating afternoon for Wolves. So I'll say 1-1, FIFA same. 2-2. Then our next game does feature Cardiff, who are coming up against Derby County. So of course Cardiff, after their fantastic midweek victory over Leeds United, has seen them go top of the Championship. So they'll be looking to stay there, of course, for as long as possible. And they're coming up against this Derby side who have had quite a stuttering season so far. You know, after that game that Derby had not too long ago against Hull City, I thought a lot of people thought that would be the catalyst for Derby to really go ahead and kick on from there. They've not really been able to do that so far, and they've been a little bit underwhelming since that thrashing they had of Hull City. So for this game here today, I think that Cardiff confidence levels will be soaring through the roof at the moment, so I'm going to go with a 2-1 home victory for Cardiff, for as FIFA's saying, it'll be 1-0 Derby. Then for our next game we do have Hull City, who are coming up against Birmingham. So in fairness to Birmingham, ever since Harry Redknapp has been sacked, we've seen them put in two decent shifts in terms of a team performance. And of course last night they managed to put an end to that awful run of form that we've seen them endure so far this season, with finally getting another victory and putting an end to that awful winless streak. But they're coming up against a Hull side who haven't been brilliant so far this season. In their midweek game against Preston, I thought they were really quite underwhelming actually. I thought Preston did deserve the 3 points for that one, and with a couple of injury issues they've got at the moment, Hull, I think that they just look a little bit limp going forward, and I think that Birmingham could actually cause them some problems with a little bit more confidence they've got into this side with a couple of decent results lately. So I'm actually going to go with a 2-1 away victory for Birmingham, which could see them climb out of the relegation zone, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-1. And then into our next game we do go, we then have Ipswich Town, who are coming up against Bristol City. And this once again is a very intriguing counter between two of the league's top scorers actually so far this season. Of course, Ipswich in midweek, what a result that was for them, with the absolute thrashing over Sunderland. And watching over some of the goals for that game, the Sunderland defending wasn't brilliant, but even so, you can't take anything away from Ipswich that they have been very impressive going forward for large majority of this season. The same can be said for Bristol City as well. Currently they're enduring a very nice run of form, and we are looking at two potential dark horses this season actually in these two coming up against each other. And I hope that this game doesn't disappoint, because it has got all the ingredients to be quite a high scoring, entertaining game. And I say this now, it's probably going to go ahead and end 0-0, but just for the sheer amount of goals that both of these sides have got in their attacking lines, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw for this game, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-0 Bristol City. Then our next game does feature Middlesbrough, who are coming up against Brentford. So far this season for Middlesbrough, it's been a little bit of a frustrating season for their fans so far. I think that's fair to say, of course. A lot was invested into this Middlesbrough squad at the start of the season, but they've not really hit the heights that I think a lot of their fans were expecting them to hit quite early on into the season. Of course, they lost in midweek to Norwich. That was quite a disappointing result actually, considering some of the opportunities that Middlesbrough had in that game. But coming up against the Brentford side, who do look to have a bit more confidence in them actually in recent weeks, of course, and they're unbeaten in their last 3 games, so they're not going to make it easier for this Middlesbrough side, who have been a little bit stuttering recently. I think that's fair to say. But after that game in midweek, I do fancy Middlesbrough to bounce back in this one. So for this game, I'm going to go with a 2-1 home victory for Middlesbrough, although I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford surprised me, because I still do think that this Brentford side does have goals in them. And then for our next match we do go with and have Millwall, who are coming up against Barnsley. So of course, it's been no secret recently, Millwall have been under a fantastic run of form, and the longer they can make this go on for, you know, the bigger their prospects will look like for the rest of the season. Barnsley recently haven't been getting the greatest run of results, although in a couple of their games I thought they've been a little bit unfortunate not to get anything from them, you know, thinking back to that Wolves game. And in QPR in midweek the performance was a little bit disappointing, but in terms of this one, I just think that with Millwall's recent home record, it'll be a hard one for Barnsley. But I think they'll get a goal in this one, but I am going to fancy Millwall to do this one, so I will go with a 2-1 home victory for Millwall, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-1. And then into our next game we do go with and have Nottingham Forest, who are coming up against Sheffield United. And a very intriguing encounter for this game. The reason I say that is because Nottingham Forest aren't on the best run of form recently. They've actually lost their last 3 games, but even so, in those 3 games, I don't think they've been playing that badly. They've been creating chances in a lot of their games recently. They've just not been taking their chances, so maybe their fortunes will turn in this one, but it's going to be a tough game for them. When you look over Sheffield United recently, some of the performances they've been putting in, this is going to be a tough game for Forest. I'm in no doubt about that. Considering as well, both of these 2 teams are yet to draw a game so far this season, so they've either been winning or losing. Neither of them have settled for a point yet, so for that reason, I do get the impression that they will be a winner in this game here today, and I'm going to have to back the away side. I'm going to go with a 2-1 away victory for Sheffield United, although if Forest can start taking their chances, it may be a different picture, but I'll go 2-1 United. FIFA same. 1-1. And then for our next game, guys, we have a match which I'm very much looking forward to. We have Preston North End, who are coming up against Sunderland. So, of course, the reason this is a fairly big game going on around Preston is because, of course, the former Preston manager, Simon Grayson, currently in charge of Sunderland, is returning to Deepdale for this one. And I think it's fair to say his job is under quite a bit of pressure. So this is a massive game, in my opinion, for Simon Grayson. But is it going to be an easy one for him? Not by any stretch of the imagination. I really do think that Sunderland may struggle in this one. Looking over some Sunderland's defending from that Ipswich game, it was literally just schoolboy errors, and I think there's still quite a few bad eggs in this Sunderland dressing room which Grayson hasn't really been able to eradicate yet. I think there are problems at Sunderland that run deeper than Grayson, in my opinion, but he's not been able to get the best out of this squad yet. So for that reason, I'm going to go with a 3-1 home victory for Preston. I swear to God, if we end up losing this match now, I'm going to be pretty annoyed, because recently Preston have been under a great run of form, of course. Currently sit 5th in the Championship, so I'll say 3-1 Preston. FIFA saying 3-0 Preston. And then for the last of the Saturday kickoffs to go ahead and talk over, we then have Reading, who are coming up against Norwich. So for this one, both of these 2 sides so far this season are 2 of the lowest scorers in the division, and for that reason, this one, it may not be the game of the weekend. I say that now, it's probably going to go ahead and finish 5-5 knowing some of my predictions this year, but even so, recently Reading haven't been brilliant so far this season. They're actually not lingering too far away from the relegation zone, and they really do need to start shaping up Reading this season if they are going to have a decent campaign. Looking over some of Norwich's recent performances, they've actually been able to turn a corner, you know. At one point in the season, it was looking like an absolute crisis at Norwich, you know. Thinking back to that Millwall game, you know, they were just looking in disarray, but since then, they really have managed to sort out their defence and have looked quite stable in their recent games. Not a big score so far this season, though, Norwich, so for this game, I'm going to go ahead and predict it to be a 0-0 draw. I think these 2 sides could cancel each other out, and it could be a bit of a cagey affair. So I'll say 0-0. FIFA same. 2-0 Reading. And then our last game to go ahead and talk over, we then have the game taking place on Sunday between Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds United. And this is a game I'm looking forward to go ahead and watching for this one, because both of these 2 sides really do need a win in this one, in my opinion. Of course, Sheffield Wednesday without a victory in their last 3 games now, and their confidence really does seem to have been shot after that Derby Day defeat they had in the hands of Sheffield United, of course. Of course, they lost in midweek as well to a Birmingham side who, you know, a lot of people were expecting Wednesday to be on the other end of that. We then switch over to Leeds. Leeds haven't been in the best run of form for themselves recently, of course. They lost in midweek. The game they had on Saturday against Ipswich, you know, maybe they were a bit lucky in that one, and before that, of course, they lost to Millwall. So, and of course, they've now lost out on the top of the Championship. So they'll be desperate to get back to winning ways and put the pressure back onto Cardiff at the top of the Championship. Carlos Carvajal's got a little bit of pressure at the moment as well, because Wednesday not playing the best of football at the moment. So for this game here today, I'm going to go ahead and predict it to be a feisty 1-1 draw, and I could see these 2 sides cancelling each other out for this one, so I'll say 1-1. FIFA same. 1-0 Leeds. So there you guys have it. That will wrap it up for my Championship Week 8 score predictions. So do you guys agree with my score predictions? Let me know in the comments down below. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So thank you so much for watching. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the other links in the description down below, and make sure you subscribe for regular Championship content. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.